Welcome to the city, Mastermind City, a city filled with endless masterminds and limitless possibilities. Learn the secrets that bring business and personal success through our unique one-stop destination that gives you year-round live access to every mastermind running in the city.
And it includes live coaching, Q&As, hot seats, and more.
Hi, I'm Faye Chappell.
And I'm Stacey Maynard, and this is the Hot Topics of the Week, where we bring you a vibrant, uplifting, and inspiring conversation focused on how you can make a lasting impact for yourself and for your business.
Because the truth is, life is a marathon, not a sprint, and that's why our listeners keep coming back. For us, this is more than just a business. It's a professional community. So if you're ready to go, you're in the right place. Welcome to the city. We are in opposite coasts today.
Yes, it is opposite day here in Mastermind City. I am north and you are in Toronto.
I am.
So yes, it's an interesting world, and that's okay. I'm happy to be here, even though you're not here, and because it's a beautiful space, so it's great.
Yeah, and I'll be back tonight.
Okay, good.
So your clients need you, right?
Exactly. And that's the good thing about being, you can live north, you can go south, you can travel, you can do remote. It doesn't really matter in today's world, which is really good. And it's actually funny because I had a client reach out to me yesterday or last week and said, like, can we meet? And all of a sudden I'm like, well, meet. Like, I don't know what that means anymore, because it's like, well, do you want to meet over meet? Like Google Meet? Because that was what I would say. Like, do you want to meet? And then she's like, well, no, I meant meet in person. And I'm like,
no.
People do that still?
No. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, now with the people, I guess they forget how easy it is to meet anytime. And, you know, we've talked about this before. I don't want to talk on the phone, and I don't want to spend 3 hours driving if we can have the exact same conversation right here, like we're doing with everyone listening today. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
what's happening in the world?
Well, you know what? It's been, I would say, an interesting theme over the past week. And that's why I brought this up to you yesterday, that I sort of wanted to talk about, because 3 different clients reached out and said, so LinkedIn, is it still a thing? When was it not a thing? Like, did we like, it's always been reality. It's always been a thing. It's actually still extremely important. And I feel like people go to the shiny object,
right?
The fun object, right? Like, they're going to go to Instagram because, you know, it's fun and I can see really cute cat videos and some business thrown in and videos, or we'll go over to TikTok and, you know, watch this and that, or YouTube and that kind of stuff. So they kind of almost have forgotten that LinkedIn is still there, and it's actually still a very much of a primary place for professionals to live.
Well, I think, you know, personally, as you know, I'm getting a little tired of a lot of the social media. So I'm not really, you know, going to Instagram and TikTok, and definitely not Facebook much. LinkedIn is still LinkedIn. And if you're a professional and you're looking for business, or you're looking for information, or to reach other people, it's still the place to be because you're taken seriously, right?
Absolutely. And it was a case where, so it's a podcast client, and they were realizing that they weren't getting the reach that they wanted to, and they've seen other people, you know, gaining a lot of momentum, connecting with a lot of people, having a lot more visibility on LinkedIn. And so they're a co-hosted podcast, and one of them is, you know, their stuff is there, and she's pseudo active. The other person couldn't even log in because she had forgotten her login. And because she hadn't been on it for so long, LinkedIn actually temporarily sort of, you know, made her account not active, thought that she is not active anymore. So I couldn't even find her on LinkedIn. So she's like, like, that's not good. Like, it's not a platform that you do it. Like, and this is unfortunately a myth when it comes to LinkedIn, is people think, do your profile. Yeah. And now I'm done.
Right. Or, you know, a lot of people don't even do that, right? They just put their name on it. And so it's coincidentally, which is kind of interesting. I was looking up a a company for a client who's I'm in their office today, and I was looking up this company for them,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was looking at their team and their CEO, and everyone had their pictures on their website except the CEO, and there was no information on her. So I grabbed her name and I threw it in LinkedIn with her company because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And all she had was her name. There was no profile picture. It said name and the CEO or founder, I can't remember what it was, of her company. There's
Company.
no information. And I completely, I think I felt like I lost respect for the company
Mm-hmm.
because I thought, well, if she doesn't think it's important enough for her to be a face of the CEO of the company, then I don't have a lot of faith in that organization. So, and that was literally just yesterday. So, I would challenge everyone out there, if you haven't been on LinkedIn in a while, even older information is better than no information, right?
And I know a lot of the holdback that a lot of people had was like, oh, well, I want to do my profile, but I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I know I'm supposed to put all these accomplishments on, but are people going to think like that I'm making this stuff up? And I don't know where all those myths have come from. I don't know where those feelings have come from. But
No.
I'm just going to say that in today's world, you can actually have AI write your bio,
Yeah.
write your about section for AI. If you just kind of put in the basic information
Yep.
for LinkedIn, you can actually have AI write it for you. So there's really no reason. I mean, they'll write your headline. I actually went in because I was preparing to have this conversation today, and I actually went over to ChatGPT and I said, here's my current headline. Like, what would you do differently based on these parameters, right? Like, this is my target audience. This is who I am. This is kind of how I like to talk, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? It actually created something kind of cool and, kind of sounded more like me as opposed to the laundry list, of titles that I currently have there. So I haven't changed it yet. I'm just kind of tweaking it a little bit. But I think it's important because for a few reasons. Number one, like you just said, you can learn a lot about a person when they're not there. You're like, huh?
Yeah.
What's going on? I think the kids coming from school today, like I know we have older children, and they're talking about it even at the high school level. They're now saying, like, if you want that professional presence, like you need to be on LinkedIn. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
They're realizing that they need a professional photo and they don't have to have a big extravagant photo shoot. Our phones are fantastic. You can have someone take a really good picture of you.
Yeah.
There was one person that asked me if their photo was good, and it was they had a seatbelt. They were in a car because cars give you really good lighting. So she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I took a picture, a selfie of myself." I'm like, "No selfies."
Well, you could use that picture. You could actually use it, put it into an AI program. As we all know, there's some really great AI programs for headshots now,
That
and
is
it
true,
will
actually.
it will fix it. So it will. You can even go to Canva and cut out the background, right, and put yourself in different background. But with AI, and they look great. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, you upload 4 or 5 pictures, and it creates a whole
slew of
slew of
professional
them that you
photos.
want to use. So I think, and like, it really does bother me sometimes when I go on LinkedIn and I see somebody's picture and you go, really? Is that the best you could do?
Like
But
vacation shots, people who have their arm around, somebody has their arm around you and you've kind of cut them out, but you haven't
yeah,
taken their arm off of your shoulder. Like some of that stuff now, again, with AI generated, with ease of removing things from photos, I think we have no excuse but to showcase
yeah,
ourselves in a professional way. So
yeah,
it's still the place that people go. So LinkedIn is still, absolutely a professional platform. It's a place to connect. It is a place where people are going to check you out. Hence what you said earlier. Google is still, when somebody Googles your name, your LinkedIn profile is still one of the
it's
first things
right
that
at
come
the
up.
top, right at
And
the
they're
top.
very top, exactly. And there's lots of different things in the profile now than there used to be. So I'm finding it very interesting the way that LinkedIn has progressed over the years because back in the day, 5 years ago, it would be literally your name, your headline, and your summary, which was sort of your about section. Well, now they're realizing that people are using it more from a personal brand perspective. They're using it as
Right,
their business brand perspective. They're using it for business information. So actually that about section has now kind of pushed down
right,
on the list. So it's no longer at the top. It's there, absolutely, but there's different things that you can showcase. You can showcase different articles you've done. You can showcase different um, things that you're doing, different posts, informations, videos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can kind of highlight that right at the top of your profile so that people can see right away, here's your name, here's your headline. And now here's some things that I'm doing, or articles that I've written, or videos that I've done that showcase more about who I am and what I've done.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know how I got on this list or however the algorithm does it, but now I always get invites to comment on someone's article, like put my perspective on somebody's article that obviously is tied to what I have in my bio or in
Right.
my about. I don't know exactly how they do it, but I don't. But when you do that, you obviously are ranking better in their algorithm and get to more exposure. So there's a lot of benefits to have a full LinkedIn profile. And I'm the first one to say I haven't updated mine in ages. But I did it very clear and generically so that the information that somebody most needs is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if the base parameters are there, then you're going to get more exposure. Now, obviously, as you said, if you write your own articles, or like we do our LinkedIn, we do our newsletter on LinkedIn,
Yep.
which gives our company a lot more exposure. And I think that's a really cool thing, because we did talk about newsletters are coming back, they are getting bigger, but how great is it to be able to put it on LinkedIn instead of just putting it out to your list? So you can still put it out to your list,
Yep.
but you can also add it to LinkedIn as well.
So thank you for the segue, as
Mhm.
always. So
Mhm.
one thing that I think has changed over the past few years is the emphasis on company pages. So I would have, when I was training and teaching LinkedIn, I was very much focused on the personal profile, because that's where LinkedIn put most of their effort. So you want to
Right.
put the effort into the platform where they're putting the effort. So it was your personal. So your company page, you could have it there, and we kind of had it there just so that we could have that logo on our personal profiles. But we really weren't doing a lot with our company page. It was
Right.
there, and all of a sudden I started doing a lot more research, and we started having different conversations. And it's like, hang on. And the biggest thing that came out of that whole growth with LinkedIn focusing on company pages was the newsletter.
Yes.
So they started with the newsletter being under a personal profile, but they realized that that was limiting. Like, am I going to do the newsletter for our company? Are you going to do the newsletter for our company?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? But now you can do newsletters under the company. So
Right.
what ends up happening is when you create this article, it goes under your newsletter when you've created your newsletter, and people can subscribe to the newsletter. So a few things happens. Number one, they get a notification on their LinkedIn that you've sent out a new article, or you've put that article on your newsletter. But number two, they get an email, depending on their settings internally within LinkedIn. So an email list is great, but they also get that same article from LinkedIn directly in their inbox, and that's the full article. So we put out an article twice a week. We have a newsletter called the City Insider, and this we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this video will be turned into an article that we will then put into LinkedIn as an article on our company page, and then we can share that from our personal profile. So the visibility is much greater when you do that and you have multiple people sharing that to their network. So I think from a content perspective, I think LinkedIn really realized that that need was there for people to create content outside of their own personal profiles.
Right.
Personal
And I
profiles,
think
absolutely important.
And I think people are still, we talked about this a lot in our coaching session last week with our community members. And, we talked about the fact that most people kind of steer away from it because they don't want to create it. It takes so long to create a newsletter. And we came up with some great software and some little hacks that if you guys stick around for Tech City, which is always after Hot Topics, you'll learn about some simple, easy ways to do it. But I mean, that now that there are easy ways to put out your content without having to worry so much about, spending, 3, 4 days putting together a newsletter. It is available for everyone. So I have a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to or not, but it used to be, I think you needed, what was it? How many subscribers for a newsletter? Was it 50 or 150 or?
So what you need on your company page is you need right now in today's world, you need 100 followers on your company page in order to create a newsletter under your company page.
Right. So,
And I think that's
so,
fair.
and it's important. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, most people have, 500 at least,
Connections.
connections. So if you just send out a note to all your connections and say, please, like the page so we can start our newsletter, tell them that's why you want to do it, and people will do it. Like if somebody sends it to me, I would do it. Not, I probably wouldn't if they just said like my page, but if they said we're trying to get a newsletter together, then I would do it. Now I don't know, is that the same rule if you do it on your personal page, a newsletter?
No. Anybody can do it on their personal.
Okay.
So if you are your brand on your
Yeah.
own, and so doing it under your personal might make sense. I
Yeah.
was just very happy when they opened it up and they started
Yeah.
doing newsletters on their company pages, because then it gives you the option. So in a
Yeah.
case of, someone like Faye and I, where there's two of us and we have Mastermind City together, then like, again, who's going to do the newsletter? It doesn't really make
And
sense.
then we can share it
Exactly.
to our personal profiles. So don't worry, you can still do all that. It's just this way is a little bit easier. But yeah, I think it's you're immediately, when you send a newsletter out from LinkedIn as opposed to putting it on any other platform, even your own, you're immediately considered more of a thought leader, right?
Yes.
Because and it is, your newsletter is very clearly defined as to what you're going to talk about, so people just immediately, and a lot of people comment too, what I know,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
people comment,
A lot more
so
people comment on it because they're seeing it more, and it's showing
yeah.
up in search results, even just through Google, not just on LinkedIn. So if you think about the places that people are searching for information, where's one of the first places they're searching? Google, right?
Right.
So what's coming up? YouTube, obviously,
Yes.
and LinkedIn, because their articles are so highly ranked in
Right.
Google, right? So from an SEO perspective, your articles are going to be coming up. So
Yeah.
very important to, first of all, have a presence on LinkedIn. You don't want to be a situation where someone's looking for you and you're not there, or you just have a name. I know so my son's in college, and his teacher tasked them with a professional social media presence.
Right.
My other son's in high school just finishing, and his teachers are already talking about what that looks like. So if you're not there, like these guys are there. They're starting to realize that they're there. They're starting to make those connections. They're starting to create their professional network, and it works the same. Now, from that perspective, maybe they're looking for a job and they want to make those connections.
Right.
From an entrepreneurial perspective, we're creating that brand, we're creating that presence, but it doesn't matter why you're there. The importance is that your profile is complete. So I would literally go look at your profile, make sure that each and every section that is possible to fill out that you have information for is filled out. Don't say, well, that doesn't matter. Yes, it does.
And consider it your CV, right? Like
Right.
you can, for especially you're talking about students, like there is an option, if you wanted to apply, for example, a job where you see all the job listings on LinkedIn. There's an option where you can create a CV from your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
It will just format the whole thing, and you can apply wherever you want with that CV. So
Which is great.
it is in your best interest if you're looking, whether you're a student or you're transitioning careers and you're looking for a job, it's a great opportunity. But I would also stress at the same time that, if you are a job seeker or you are a consultant looking for it, make sure your profile actually talks about what it is that you're specialized in, because sometimes people only do it in a resume or a CV,
Yeah.
right? And then it doesn't match, and there's like a huge disconnect. And I believe that most companies now cross-reference every application they get through LinkedIn. So
Absolutely.
and if they see you, here's the cool part about having a LinkedIn newsletter. or articles, if they see you speaking, right? You're speaking about that topic that you're applying for, and you're speaking it in your newsletter, then, again, instant credibility. So it is worth it. Even if you wrote one
Yeah.
or two articles, but it was very highly targeted into what you want to be known as, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely huge. And going back to how you can actually put that into your profile is there's actually options that you can say open for work or job seeking or, whatever the case may
Yes.
be. Now, we're not necessarily those job seekers, but we will be found based on what we want to target for our clients, and we will come up in
Right.
those search results. And one of the other things I think that changed recently was the skills used to be just a laundry list. Now
Right.
they're actually associating them to specific jobs. So you can say, oh, they did this, and these are the skills that you learned at that particular
Right.
position or that particular job or company that you had. So
Right.
it's just, I think they're just they're making it easier. They're making it more searchable. They're making it easier to find information. And it is becoming a place where people are going and searching either A, for people, B, for people to hire, or C, just for content. Because there are professionals, thought leaders, experts out there that are writing and providing content, and they're putting it on LinkedIn. So it's a little bit more difficult to really put a lot of information on something like TikTok, right? Like TikTok, a really short video, a really quick tip, that's fine. But when you want to go to I want a longer article, I want to see and read, and that kind of goes back to, I was having a conversation with somebody else a little while ago, and we were talking about, maybe it was you, I can't even remember, but we were talking about all the different ways in which people learn. So maybe we were talking about it a bit ago on Hot Topics, but there are people who want to read, right? So if you only do a podcast or you only do a video, even though they can read the captions, I can scan and read an article much faster than I can to listen to a 10-minute video. I prefer to do that. There's other people that prefer just to listen. There's other people that's I need to see you in order to understand and comprehend what you're saying. I'm not an auditory learner. So when you take all of your content and you go there and you put that out in multiple formats, like a LinkedIn article, and put it on your newsletter, therefore they can find you. And then they go, wow, that's really cool. And they click on your profile and they go,
well, and
right?
Here's the interesting thing. I mean, podcasts, which are great, obviously, a lot of them that I was listening to a couple yesterday because I was driving, and it bothered me because they were very slow talkers.
Right.
And as you know, I don't like slow talkers. And the right now, the way to get to not be having to do that is to read the show notes if they included them. But who wants to go try to figure out where the show notes are? It's not that easy, right? So we're going to talk about again in Tech City, but actually taking the information that you gave in a podcast and translating that into a newsletter, same information. Now you're putting it out as a readable product. So all of a sudden you are going to connect with way more people, because everyone who's doing a podcast, I hate to break it to you, but not everybody in the world listens to podcasts.
No, it's true.
And people who do podcasts, which we are a part of, have a tendency of thinking they can reach everybody, and they can't, because I would say I know more people that don't listen to podcasts than do. So
and as I can't agree more, because I mean, I love doing podcasts. I love producing podcasts, but they are not the be all and end all of everything that you need to be doing. They are part of, because there are huge benefits, but there are huge disadvantages. You are actually excluding all of those visual learners. You're excluding the people like yourself who just want, and me as well. If you could just give me the article and I can just kind of pick out the key points that I want out of it.
And I'm done. Yeah.
Awesome. Now,
and it bothers you, because here's the thing. I pick my podcast based on titles, just so you know, not on the entire show title. I look for specifics. I'll punch in and then you'll find episodes.
Yeah, like the episode title. Yeah.
The problem is, as I said, is I know I'm interested. I am interested in that topic. And then you come on and you talk really slowly, or you have way too many advertisements, commercials,
Yeah.
whatever you have, you've lost me. So if you could just take that same thing, put it on as a LinkedIn newsletter, I would read it in a second and I would give you instant respect and credibility because I'm getting the information. So we're going to teach you about that. But I mean, it's huge. And I think everyone has to understand that depending on what you do, there is a great way to access people, in particular on LinkedIn, because let's face it, if you see somebody on TikTok, credibility, not so much, right?
Yep,
Not so
absolutely.
much. Sorry, guys. Sorry,
Yep.
TikTokers, but not so much because you know
True.
what? I'm always thinking that you're selling something. Let me figure it out on the bio, right? Let me go
Yep.
to your link. Let's see what your Amazon store is.
Yep,
Right?
exactly.
So even if you're talking about a serious topic and it's business related, still, unless it ties back to something that's much more credible, like LinkedIn, that you're probably not going to catch me. So, and I
Exactly.
think a lot of people are like me.
Well, and just I like to listen fast. I'm a fast listener. So if you're taking a lot of time to get to the point and you're talking very slow, sure, one of the options is to speed it up, but I don't necessarily want to listen to the chipmunks or Mickey
No.
Mouse
And
talking
you're
to
in your car and you don't want
you
to be
can't.
distracted by trying to figure out how to speed it up. Like it's true.
Yeah.
Like the reason most people listen to podcasts is because they're in their car or they're doing something, right?
Exactly.
They're not just sitting there with their phone listening. And if you are one of those people, good for you that you have that time.
Well, and if
I
you
don't.
do, you're probably watching the video.
Yes.
Right. So I just think we need to understand and respect all the different ways in which people consume content and understanding that no matter what, when they see you, they hear you in whatever capacity they read, they like you. One of the things that they're going to do is Google you or check you out. And one of the things that are going to come up is LinkedIn. So I would, again, going back to if you have not looked at your LinkedIn profile in a long time, go ahead and do that. If you have not ventured into doing LinkedIn articles, or any sort of written content because everyone's talking about videos, I would strongly suggest that you go down that road. Thanks for joining us here at the Mastermind City. You don't have to say goodbye because there are other ways that you can join us.
If you like what you've heard today, then join our professional networking community, and it's absolutely free, where you can be part of our global community to build relationships, grow your business, and access live training, or learn more about how you can get year-round access to not only us, but to all our endless masterminds.
So just go to themastermind.city and we'll see you in the city.